Hi, this video is just going to give a brief overview of the new Windows 8 operating system and some of the new features included in it, okay? So just before I start, this is basically the Windows 8, the consumer preview. Some of these features may change when it goes to its final retail stage or whatever, but you know, I'm sure it'll be very similar anyway, okay? So the first thing to notice is, I'm just going to start here. When you turn on your Windows 8 machine, it's basically going to boot up into this. And for any traditional Windows users like myself, basically you won't know what's hit you because it just looks completely different, okay? And the reason this is, and what this thing here is in the start menu, is basically it's based on a Metro type user interface, which is basically what they use for you know, tablets and you know, touchscreen devices, things like that. So anyone that's used them will be familiar with this type of setup. Now I'm actually doing this demonstration on a laptop here, and it will be the same for a PC. So we'll just proceed on that basis, okay? So the first thing to notice anyway, there's several applications that are installed when you first you know, load up your Windows 8, okay? So you can see here there's several apps here. You know, there's a store app which is basically, you know, like you might for like Google apps and things like that, but this is more, for want of a better word, Microsoft apps, okay? So we'll just click in here and have a look just to start with, okay? So obviously you need to be connected to the internet for this sort of thing, and basically within this store you can download tons of different apps for your computer. An awful lot of them are free. Some of them are paid ones. Anyone that's used any of these kind of app stores before will know the sort of situation regarding that, okay? So generally, even if there is a paid one, a lot of the time there's actually a free version of it. It might be a light version of it. It mightn't have all the whistles and bells included, but you know, generally you can get nearly a free app for nearly anything you want to do. So I'm just going through here anyway, and you can see a few just going across, okay? So the next thing to note about when you're using the apps here basically is that if you want to get out of them, you know, close them down and go back to that start menu, how do you do it? So you know, instantly your eye would be drawn to the top right hand corner, because in Windows traditionally there would have been you know, a red X up there or something like that, or maybe, you know, an underscore where you could minimize the window or something like that, but there's nothing available in this. So what do you do? How are you supposed to get back to where you were? Well, if you think of it like you know, a touchscreen device, tablet, something like that. If you were using this app, when I was scrolling here, I was using the scroll bar here and I was just moving across, whereas if you were using a tablet or something, you'd be swiping with your finger, okay? So if you think of it from that point of view, if you're just using the mouse, what you need to actually do is bring your mouse up near the top, and I'm not sure if it'll show it in the video, but the cursor for the mouse actually changes to a hand. What you need to do then basically is hold down the left button on the mouse and just simply drag it down the bottom, and that brings you straight back, okay? So it's as easy as that. The next thing to look at, we'll just look at another sample app just for an example. It's only a simple one, it's for the weather. I'm shooting this video here in Ireland. I just have the location set up as Dublin, so you can see here basically you know, a lot of information for my location weather wise, okay? So regarding that, now just as shutting down, I'll just drag it down the bottom again. Okay, and we're back here. Now within the start menu, some of the apps that come installed by default is, there's things for managing your music, your photos, doing your email. There's an app for the SkyDrive, things like that. Okay, some of these apps will require you to have a Microsoft account, so you can log into them and things like that, and others don't. But you know, you'll see, depending on what you want to use, you may or you may not need an account with Microsoft. But then again, you know, you can still use the ordinary Windows programs that you can download for certain things, you know, for all sorts of things basically, and you don't necessarily have to use their own apps, okay? Now, with regard to that, this is not the be all and end all of Windows 8, okay? If this was the case, you'd be kind of wondering, well, how do I do a lot of things basically? So what you want to do basically, there's an icon here for the desktop, and basically using Windows in the traditional sense is treated as an app on Windows 8. So you click into this thing here called the desktop app, and hey presto, it brings you to a very familiar look for Windows, okay? And a lot of people might be more comfortable with this, okay? So just what I want to show you while I'm here is I showed you by clicking on the desktop app icon, it will bring you in here. Also what you can do is in the bottom left, if you drag the mouse into the very bottom left, this thing pops up that says start. That will bring you straight back to the start menu, okay? And also if you're in the start menu, instead of clicking on the desktop app, if you bring your mouse down to the bottom left, you can just click that and it'll bring you straight into the desktop app, and you can use your Windows as normal, or what people would traditionally be used to, okay? So when you're in the desktop app here, one of the first things you're going to notice is, where's my start button, okay? Traditionally in the bottom left there would have been a little button there where you could access the menu, you could access your different programs and settings and things like that. But that's not included at all in Windows 8, okay? So one of the first questions I asked myself when I saw this, because I hadn't read any reviews, I didn't know what was going to be in it, I just basically wanted to just sit down and everything just hit me at once, and not have any preconceptions about sitting down. So this is one thing that kind of threw me when I turned on the computer first, was how am I going to turn off the computer, okay? So what you have to do is basically, if you bring your mouse up to the top right, this other menu appears, and this is called a charm bar, okay? And what you want to do is hit settings, and then you can hit power, and then from there you can go sleep, shut down, restart. Now I have to say, for the uninitiated, that's going to be a bit confusing, and I don't know why they buried it so deep, to be honest. The other way you can access that charm bar on the right is if you go to the very bottom right. You can also do it from there as well as the top right, and you can access your settings in there, okay? So that's just something to note, because it was actually the first thing I noticed when I brought up the desktop app was, A, where's my start button, and B, how do I turn this thing off if I have to? So they're just two simple things to note, okay? Now the next thing, I just have a few links set up here just for the purposes of the videos. A lot of these links don't appear by default and you have to add them in yourself. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up Windows Explorer, okay? So Windows Explorer looks very similar to what I'd used to on previous versions. You have your downloads folder, your documents, music, pictures, videos, all that sort of thing. From the point of view of doing things with your hard drive, you've all the usual things. You can format it, you can defrag, error check, all that sort of thing, okay? So that's very similar to what it used to be in the old days. There's two things in particular that are different though, and one is Microsoft have introduced the ribbon to Windows Explorer in Windows 8, okay? Now I have to say, and hold my hat up here, I'm not a fan of the ribbon at all. I just, call me a traditionalist, a stick in the mud, whatever you want. I just prefer the way it was basically in the old days. And in fairness, where we actually work, every single one of our computers is Windows XP Pro, and everyone in there just does not like the new layouts and things like that. So as I say, call us stick in the muds, traditionalists, whatever you want, but sometimes if it ain't broke, don't fix it, that sort of way. So it may come a time when we just have to get with the times and embrace the ribbon, but for now not a fan. But anyway, there it is, it's integrated into it now, so that's probably the way things are going. The one thing about Windows Explorer that I do like, and it is it's a range across a range of programs within Windows 8, is they've reintroduced the up button. Now just to show you from the point of view, let me go into something here. Let's see now. Yeah, if we go here, I just want to go back up. We'll say from Windows 7 and Vista, they took out this up button and you only had the back button, and basically you could go back by using the bar here and things like that. But again, being a traditionalist, I love the up button. It's fierce handy, and there you go, you see it in action. So I'm really glad they've actually reintroduced that to Windows. So I would say that's a plus point about Windows 8. I know it's very simple, but simple things are often the best things. So that'd be my opinion on it anyway. Okay, another thing to know about Windows 8, actually, just apart from the preview here, is that when I went to install it, okay, I was actually really surprised at how quick it installs. From putting the disk in to when I got up as far as that start menu that I showed you previously, it took around 15 minutes. That's how long it took to install, which is brilliant. Okay. Now, what to say about Windows 8 is you can kind of think of Windows 8 as Windows 7 Plus. So it retains a lot of the Windows 7 features. There's a few extra things in it. But what they've done is they've kind of optimized or made the code far more efficient, and it loads quicker. It's yet to be seen if it's more stable, but it definitely loads quicker and it takes up less space, and it can run on machines not as powerful as previous versions of Windows. Okay, and what they actually say is that the minimum requirements for Windows 8 is a 1 gigahertz processor with 1 gig of RAM, and just graphics card capable of running DirectX 9. Okay. Now, I've actually tested this not just on my own laptop here, which is a fairly decent middle of the road one. I'll just show you the spec of it. The spec there is a dual core 2.1 gigahertz Pentium, and it's a 4 gigabytes of RAM. Okay. What they say, or what I've actually tested, I should say, is I installed it on a netbook. And the netbook, I think, was a 1.6 gigahertz processor and 1 gig of RAM, and I was actually really surprised. It actually worked really well. I wasn't expecting that at all, because previous versions have said you need a minimum of this. Now the minimum was basically technically you can get it on paper, but to use it, functionality wise, the minimum spec was ridiculous because the thing just wasn't functional. For example, Vista saying it'll run on 512 megabytes of RAM. Well, it will, but you'll never do anything on the machine. So from that point of view, actually, I was well happy with the Windows 8, and it seemed to work really well on a lower spec machine. Okay. So the next thing I'll show you that comes with Windows 8 is Internet Explorer 10 comes built in to Windows 8. So that's just basically the new version of Windows or Internet Explorer. And also to have a thing here that's install new versions automatically. Now this is yet to be seen how this will work. One thing is that it'll probably do the installs in the background without you knowing, but I've yet to find out if you're going to require a reboot after doing it. So we'll just have to wait till different versions and updates come for it. So it's just something to be aware. Okay. Now the next thing I want to show you is there's a good feature here that's been added into Windows 8 regarding copying material from basically from an external device onto your machine, or even from one folder on your machine to another folder. Okay, so the example I'm going to use here is I just have a couple of files set up, and just bear with me here for a second now till I just pull these up. So before I start these off, what I'm going to do is the idea of this is what they've done is if you copy something and paste it somewhere else, okay, you can then go and copy and paste another file to another location, or the same location, whatever the case may be. But there's a kind of transfer manager, for want of a better word, where you can dictate which one is going to finish first, which one is priority, things like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I have a big file here. I'm just going to copy this and paste it into folder 2. Okay, now you'll see there it's just going 3, 4, 5% complete. Now I'm going to get the second file and I'm going to paste that. But you see what happens now? Both of them go in the list, and I can pause that first one to ensure that one goes quicker, or pause the second one and then let the second one go to go quicker. So just say you were transferring 10 files and there was one in particular that you wanted to do first, that you wanted to access. You could actually pause the rest and let that one go through, copy over first, and then you could access it and then let the others work away, release them from the pause. So again, it's not a massive feature, but it'd be handy to certain people. And also what you can do is you can just cancel the transfer midway, just say you transferred the wrong thing or you copied the wrong thing. So it's just a handy little feature, so something to be aware of. Another thing then is what people, traditional users of Windows that have used Task Manager, it is different. Okay, so from this point of view, sorry, it'll come up like this by default. Okay, And traditional users of Task Manager will think, oh, there's something wrong here. This kind of looks very different and very bare, okay, or sparse. But if you click more details, this is where it comes into its own. So it gives you all the information about, you know, your processes, performance, application history, and things like this, okay. So there's a lot more information, and the graphs and information itself are a lot more comprehensive than you know, in the past. And things, what it does do is it actually, you know, gives you details of you know, your internet activity and stuff like that. So just say you're on a download cap or something like this, you'd be able to track your usage. Also, it'll, you know, tell you what particular apps are using, you know, network wise or CPU, all that sort of thing, okay. Now another thing that is actually very good, in the older versions of Windows, to control your startup applications, okay, a lot of times your machine can be slowed down booting up by certain applications that are loaded on startup in the background, okay. And you could get third-party applications that would help you manage these, okay. But on Windows itself, there was a program called msconfig, and you could use that. But there's no need to do that anymore, okay. This is built into Task Manager. Now I've nothing that's loading up that shouldn't really be, but if you go into your Task Manager and go to the Startup tab, you'll be able to see, if you had them, lists of programs that you would be able to enable or disable depending on what you wanted to do to help, you know, perhaps speed up your computer and boot up and things like that, okay. So from that point of view, it's very good, and I think this is a step forward really from the point of view of Windows 8. So that's it basically. Just a brief overview of some of the new features that are available on the Windows 8 Consumer Preview Edition. As I say, things may change by the time it becomes the full retail version, but you know, it's probably not going to change that much in my opinion. And for the most part, there seems to be a lot of positive, you know, positive additions to it. It certainly loads a lot quicker. It installs a lot quicker. And actually, just while I'm here, there is one other thing that I'm going to show you that I forgot to mention, and this is actually a very good addition, so I'm surprised I forgot that actually. If you go into settings on the charm bar, okay, and go down the bottom here, it says more PC settings. This is actually a very good feature now. It's actually a brilliant addition, to be honest. And you go down to general. If you scroll down here, you have this thing here. It's called refresh your PC without affecting your files. Okay, if your PC is, you know, it's getting sluggish, or it's doing this, that or the other, and it's not performing as well as you want it, basically, all you have to do is just go in here, get started, and just follow the instructions, and it'll basically reset your PC back to a good working order without losing, as it says there, your photos, music, videos, and other personal files. Also, and it's just so simple compared to the old days. And also, you do have another option where you can just do the nuclear option and reset your PC and start over. And what this will do basically is just reset everything, and you'll lose all your data. But you know, for people that aren't sure about how to do these things manually from scratch and things like that, it's going to be a big help to them, to help repair the PCs. And you know, to be honest, it'll probably cut down on their repair bills for the computer and things like that. So that's another actually very good feature that has been added into Windows 8. So that's basically it, an overview of the Windows 8 Consumer Preview Edition from Microsoft.